Welcome to INN CEO Talks. Joining me today is Dirk Haarbeke, the chairman and CEO of RockTech Lithium, which is listed on the TSX Venture under the symbol RCK. RockTech Lithium is a Vancouver and a German-based lithium development and chemical technical company that is building a bridge from resources-rich Canada to process-focused Europe. RockTech is building Europe's first lithium hydroxide converter, which will be fed primarily from its 100% owned lithium project that is strategically located in Ontario, Canada. Focusing on Europe has been timely because over the past year, the EU overtook China for the number of electric vehicles sold. Volkswagen and BMW are ramping up on battery production, and VW in particular is not only building cars, the German automaker is also building battery plants, which fits perfectly with RockTech Lithium's focus and strategy. RockTech is leveraging its priority patent-pending lithium hydroxide production technology, and RockTech will reduce energy consumption and waste, providing a secure, sustainable source of lithium to meet the mounting demand for battery-grade lithium. Joining me now is Dirk Haarbeke. Well, Dirk, you are sitting on top of a resource demand time bomb. Europe is set to take off in its need for lithium. So tell us what you're doing to be able to help meet that extraordinary demand.
Well, indeed, first of all, you are 100% right with this analysis. This is a very interesting development that we have seen and followed for the past years. I'm in the business of lithium for many years, and I remember in 2016 it all got started out of China, when China has decided to really push towards e-mobility. And I was discussing with CEOs of German car companies at that time, and they said to me, we are never keen to build electric cars, and our current engines are excellent. And I always said to them, how can you say this when the Chinese go electric and in terms of climate change, this topic is becoming more and more important. And it was an interesting situation because probably until middle of last year of 2020, most people in Europe would have said, we don't believe in electric cars and that everything is coming now. And since then, the landscape has changed dramatically. This is not only VW pushing to also sell and produce these electric cars, right? It is all car brands by now. So when you are here in Europe, which is sometimes a different perception to North America, you have no doubt anymore about the future of e-mobility. And at the same time, it is, of course, a huge change. It's more or less a revolutionary change for the car industry. Because in the past, the big OEMs, how you call the large ones, right, were only dealing with their tier one suppliers. Globally, it was Continental, it was a Bosch, etc. Now, in a completely new industry, they have to look downside in the value chain and see where the challenges might be. And this is on the one hand, some battery cell productions. This is why VW has decided to fully get into this. And the next step is that for the cathode of a battery cell, you need lithium hydroxide, and you want this to be as much as possibly produced in a sustainable way, in a transparent way, because you want to tell the buyers of your electric cars where all the things are coming from. And this is more difficult when you get your products out of China than getting these products out of Europe. And this is why we have made the decision already 2 years ago to go and aim to build the first converter on the European continent. We are in discussions with all possible customers. It is a very interesting setup, and we see at the moment that I have to say the buyers and the battery cell producers are getting step by step nervous because we are seeing a lithium shortage coming up from now on.
Yes. You know, a couple of months ago, I hosted a 3-day workshop between the European Commission and the Canadian government looking at opportunities around clean tech developments. And so when I saw that you are, extending that very real growing network between Canada and Europe, and to be a reliable supply chain, because Europe doesn't have those resources within its landmass and needs to have certified and reliable partners. How was it that you were able to get ahead of the curve?
Well, sometimes things in life, when you're dealing with these topics intensively, are quite obvious. And it was clear, which came to a certain extent from the learnings that we had more or less 10 years ago when we were dealing with rare earth topics. And you might remember that there was a time where the Chinese were saying, we are not selling rare earth products to the market anymore. And there was for a few months a certain panic. But this was temporarily. So I had discussions during these times also with people like, with companies like BASF who said, look, it's a temporary issue. We are not too much worried. Now, with the batteries and the lithium demand and supply, we are in a completely different situation than 10 years ago with rare earths. This time it is a fundamental problem. And the Chinese have approached this problem already several years ago, mostly through contracts of sourcing lithium, 6% lithium spodumene concentrate from Australia, shipping it to China and doing the refinery steps in China. And the European Union has decided, I would say 1.5 years ago, to go the same way. We have different initiatives in Europe now. One is the European Raw Material Alliance, which has exactly this idea, but it is not strong enough yet. Because in the current stage, the European Union is focusing on big subsidy programs for the build-up of the battery cell manufacturing facilities. This is why you have many battery cell production sites being built up in Germany and Europe at the moment. And the next step will really be the raw material and the battery chemicals, the battery metals supply. And this is in the pipeline at the moment. And you see recently with news out of the US that President Biden has the same demands, of course, also for the American car industry.
Exactly. So let's talk a little bit about your property in Ontario. Tell us about it and how, based because you are so strategically located, it actually gives you ease to the European market.
Yeah, when I got invested in lithium, it was actually already in 2010. It was exactly in that property. During that time, I was building a large banking group in sub-Saharan Africa. So I was involved with other metals, and I ended up by chance in Vancouver and met at that time the team of RockTech Lithium, and I liked the topic from the beginning. And I went right away to visit the property, which is really just 160 kilometers north of the city of Thunder Bay in northern Ontario, where we have a deep sea port. We have a railway connection there. We are just strategically located at the Highway 11. So when you're driving from Western Canada to Eastern Canada, you see our sign just at the highway. And from there, we have a road which goes 6 kilometers into the land. And this is where our main dikes are located, right? The interesting and also sexy thing in the lithium business is that you're working with outcrops. So you're on an area, you see the outcrops, which are like 1.5 kilometers long, right? And this is where you find your lithium hosted in form of spodumene crystals, yeah, in big granite blocks, yeah. So we know exactly what we have to mine, how we have to mine this, yeah. It is a very straightforward production facility, and what we are aiming to do then is to bring this into production by middle to end of 2023, so in 2 to 2.5 years, and also produce then a lithium so-called spodumene concentrate, which is a 6% concentrate product already on the ground. And this product we are then intending to bring by train or by trucks to Thunder Bay. And from Thunder Bay, we are at the beginning, then shipping this to Europe to do our conversion into the lithium hydroxide, which is the most important battery chemicals in the future for high-level batteries for the car industry. But we can, of course, at the same time imagine to build more and more facilities also in Thunder Bay itself to deliver the lithium hydroxide either to the Canadian battery cell manufacturers the moment when these are being built, yeah, and you know there are many initiatives going on, but also across the Great Lakes to Michigan, where Ford and General Motors are currently building up together with Asian partners the battery cell production sites. So there are a lot of optionalities, and I think our location is key for this.
Well, I think so too. As you're speaking, I'm thinking about Thunder Bay and how strategically it is located in a very rich mining district. All of the infrastructure that you need to build out and then operate your mine is in place. And as you pointed out, those delivery transportation corridors, either by ship or by rail, are also already in place. And so it puts you in a really interesting position. One of the other things that I want to talk about is how you built quite an extraordinary team. You've just been adding team members recently. When I was going through your board of directors and your team, you've compiled a pretty impressive team. Tell me a little bit about them.
Well, when you are doing something that no one before has really done in the Western world, so all the lithium hydroxide converters are currently in China. In Australia, 2 are being commissioned at the moment, but not yet in production. So we are talking about something that is completely new to the North American and the European world. So when you are doing these things, you have to make sure that you get the best and the most experienced experts from neighboring industry and combine them with top experts in the processing technologies, for example, for lithium processing. Because in lithium is highly reactive. So it is quite a challenge to get this processed in a reliable and sustainable way that you always have the same quantities and qualities. So we started then already 2-3 years ago to get all relevant people on board that we consider to be necessary. This comes on the one hand from the political side, because you're always looking for political goodwill of what you are doing, especially when you're building large plants in Western Europe. In Germany, you're not always welcome with building large plants, right? Because Germany is a very luxurious country, and people are sometimes not too open to new industrial projects. But in other areas, they are very open, especially when you are doing new things which are high tech and the new world standard, which we have exactly in mind. So we are working on the one hand in getting political supports. Then we have top executives from the car industry that help us with the thinking about how this industry is working. We recently announced that Stefan Krause, who is a former CFO of Deutsche Bank and of BMW, he joined us as a vice chairman. Yeah, he's still very active in many specs and ventures also on the North American market. We have people like Karl-Peter Forster, who was the CEO of Europe for General Motors and had many other top positions. So this is where we are covering the car industry setup. We also have top executives from power plant construction and big plant constructions, because the implementation of such a project is key. You have to work on the permits. This is what you see, especially when you're following Tesla and the large gigafactories they are building, also one in Germany near Berlin. Permitting is one of the most important topics. You need to make sure that all stakeholders in the area are involved, etc. So this is why you also need chemical processing expertise, why you need plant building expertise, and so on. And by now, I would say we have a top management and a top leadership team, also in terms of marketing and all other topics. We have probably alone in the last 2 months hired up to 20 engineers who are only there for the planning and supervision later on of the construction of our plant. And I'm very happy with having all these people on board and having really the team that can implement what we want to implement in a very short period of time.
An impressive team. And for anybody who is looking to invest in your company, of course, that gives them a much greater level of comfort. I think one of the things that people are probably looking at it with lithium right at the moment is they go, okay, I keep hearing about this pent-up demand, but the price hasn't moved yet, or, the market just isn't quite surging forward. Where do you see us at as far as that, the pressure that will come on the price of lithium as supply and demand start to tighten up?
Well, us sitting together here today, I have to say that in the past few months, we had quite an interesting move up in the prices of lithium. I remember well, we had a first real upswing from 2016 to middle of 2018, when the price for it is called lithium carbonate equivalent. The LCE was increasing from more or less 5,500 to up to $25,000 per ton. And it came then from middle of 2018, it came down until middle of December 2020. So only 6 months ago, it came down back to 6,000 US dollars. So we had a huge upswing and downswing. But now we are back at around 14,000. So from the 6,000 that we had, or 6,500 we have seen really in the lows in December last year, we made a big upswing now. And the reason for this is that the buyers have seen that there is certainly not enough supply. I would say in the coming 5 to 8 years, this is an issue. Why? Because when the price was going down between 2018 and the end of 2020, several larger projects were simply being put on hold. Because when you have inside the industry a huge confidence that the cars are coming, that lithium will be needed, yeah, you simply stop the construction, you wait for better times to get your investments together and for better prices. But for the industry, for the buyers of your product, it of course means that they have lost 2 years. And at the same time, the upscaling of the e-mobility is so fast now globally, is so fast, that we really see a significant delay. And I would say that from now on, latest probably in 1 month, we have an undersupply of lithium, and the price is probably going up to close to $20,000 per ton by the end of the year again.
Wow. Which put you in the perfect spot in the development of your company, your strategy, and meeting that demand. You know, as you were speaking, I was reminded a number of years ago, I heard a person talking about electricity in the modern economy. He said it's the oxygen of the modern economy. And I can't help but think that lithium is the backbone of the electrification, especially of transportation. And that backbone needs to be supported. And it looks like you're in a good position to do it. You know, Dirk, I wish that I had even more time. We're already way over our allotted amount of time to do this interview. So I'm hoping that you'll come back in a couple of months and give us an update as to where you are on factory development in Europe and processing here in Canada, because you've got an exciting story.
Thank you very much, and thanks a lot for your interest into the topic. And I'm pretty sure that there are huge investment opportunities in that area in principle for interested investors. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.